Hello friends, welcome back to the Zekko football channel. In one of the games of the weekend, Manchester United are travelling to the Emirates to take on Arsenal. Today we are previewing this very clash, going through lineups, tactics and more. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe, you like the video and turn on those notifications. It just takes a second. Go on, click. Thank you. And now without further ado, let's preview Arsenal against Manchester United. First off, let's have a look at the teams. This is the Arsenal team that I've got to play Manchester United on that Sunday. It's a bit of a return to form from what they had last year. So we've got them in this 4-3-3, and as you can see, a lot of players are in their natural and right places. I believe Mikel Arteta will have seen what happened against Fulham and will not want to repeat the same mistakes against Manchester United, which is why we have Ben White back at right back. We have Saliba out in this right centre defensive or centre back position. We have Gabriel coming back into the squad as the left centre back, and we have Alexander Zinchenko taking up his left back position. Thomas Partey returns to the centre of midfield as the holding central defensive midfielder, which means that to get Declan Rice into the team, you've got to push him forwards into that Kai Havertz role that he's been playing for the last 3 games. I believe Declan Rice will be able to do a job here, and I think that it's going to take him some time, but I think he should be able to adapt fairly quickly. Martin Odegaard will be playing as that central attacking midfielder next to Declan Rice, and that means we have the front 3 to be left. Bukayo Saka out on this right hand side. Gabriel Jesus, I reckon, will come back into the starting lineup after his injury, and Gabriel Martinelli will be taking up this left hand side. There's only one major question that I have about this Arsenal team, and it's about Gabriel Jesus. If Arsenal for whatever reason are unsure about his fitness or whether he's completely match sharp, I can see Eddie Nketiah coming into the starting lineup. I can't see Trossard, but I can see Nketiah due to the way that he was managing to impact this game. Fabio Vieira coming in for Declan Rice or Kai Havertz out on this left central attacking midfield position, I believe could be an option. However, I do think that Declan Rice has shown that he is an important player in this Arsenal setup, and for that reason I've got him in this lineup, pushed up a little bit further forward to allow Thomas Partey to do his defensive work. This is the Arsenal side. And for their opponents arriving at the Emirates, Manchester United, I believe, will look like this. Aaron Wan-Bissaka will come in at right back. Lindelof, Martinez and Dalot will be keeping his place. Lindelof obviously coming in for the injured Rafa Varane. He is continuously injured, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense why Manchester United keep him around, really. Dalot coming in at left back because Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia are injured. They are looking for an emergency right back, but he might not be available, so Dalot comes in at left back. I believe they'll go for a midfield pivot of 2 in Casemiro and Christian Eriksen. The midfield 3 with Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes pushed up a little bit further did not work, and I don't think they'll have any reinforcements for the game against Arsenal, which means that Eriksen will need to drop back that little bit deeper to be able to retain possession. Up ahead of them is their captain Bruno Fernandes, and on either flank of him is Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial will be leading the line for Manchester United, as I do not believe that Erik ten Hag will want to be giving Rasmus Højlund his main debut as a Manchester United player against Arsenal. I believe he'll come off the bench if he is still fit. However, that means that Martial will be leading the line. This is the Manchester United side. It is nowhere near as good as I think Manchester United would have liked it to be facing Arsenal, but then the breaks, and this is the United team to be facing them on Sunday. So how will the game break down and what will happen? Well, first of all, I want to have a look at a couple of the duels that I think are going to take place across the pitch during the 90 minutes. First of all, I want to have a look at Martinelli and his duel against Aaron Wan-Bissaka. When Arsenal begin, they're going to start very high and wide possession based, but also looking to drag Manchester United out of a more defensive shell. This means that the wide players are going to need to do a lot of work to make sure they're able to beat their opponents and create that little bit of extra space. Dalot out on this left-hand side, not his favoured position, obviously, is going to have a day on his hands with Bukayo Saka drifting inside, drifting out, looking for those late runs from Martin Odegaard. It's going to be a nightmare for him, and I really do think that that's going to be one of the crucial avenues that Manchester United are going to need to look at if they're going to be stopping Arsenal at any point during this match. We know how good Saka is at cutting in and drifting onto that side and then scoring from deep, but also Gabriel Martinelli onto Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who was a very good 1v1 player himself. However, with the late runs from Declan Rice, it's going to be important for Wan-Bissaka to tuck in next to Lindelof to make sure that he's not completely exposed. This is going to have a knock-on effect to Casemiro, who will need to be following the runs of Declan Rice to make sure that Manchester United are not overloaded in certain scenarios. And then we have a look at the likes of Martin Odegaard, arguably Arsenal's most important creative player, and he is going to be next to the likes of either a Bruno Fernandes or a Christian Eriksen. If either of them leaves Odegaard for too long, he's either going to make a deep lying run inside, or he's going to be able to pick a pass and switch it over before Manchester United are going to be able to knock back. From a United point of view, Marcus Rashford onto Ben White is the obvious choice. Pace, power against someone who doesn't necessarily like to be in a foot race. Now don't get me wrong, Ben White is pretty quick in his own right, but Marcus Rashford is just a different level. Anthony onto Zinchenko, depending on whether Zinchenko comes inside all too much, will be an interesting matchup. His recovery runs are going to need to be crucial to make sure that Anthony can't cut inside and have a 1v1 battle with Gabriel. Thomas Partey is going to be a very, very important key part of this to make sure that all of this Arsenal team gels and glues together. His 1v1 duel against Martial is going to be important because of the way that Manchester United are going to try and break on the counter-attack. Now let's have a look at the way that Arsenal are going to press forwards. This looks very, very complicated, but bear with me. So here I have the three centre-backs as they are. Technically, I should say that Ben White is a right-back, Saliba out here, and then you have Gabriel. Bukayo Saka is holding his width out on this right hand side, and Martinelli is out on this left. We have two major positions, and they are the ones held by Martin Odegaard and Declan Rice, who are going to be making runs in between the channels, in between the centre-backs and the full-backs. This is going to drag players like Christian Eriksen and Casemiro out into these channels, allowing space for the likes of Gabriel Jesus to receive the ball to feet and then turn. The tight-knit nature of Martinez is going to be absolutely crucial, and then Bruno Fernandes is going to need to come back and help out with this transition a lot of the time. Overall, I think that Arsenal are going to have far too much to be able to deal with the Manchester United defence, and I don't think United are going to be able to deal with it at all. The counter-attack will be on through Marcus Rashford and Anthony. However, the pace of Gabriel, I think, is enough to deal with Anthony, and then you've got the likes of Saliba covering across to make sure that Rashford can't get anything. Martial, for his time against Nottingham Forest in their last game, looked fairly unfit and actually looked a little bit overweight. I'm not sure whether that's actually the case, but he looked slow, sluggish, and definitely not match sharp, which is a problem, especially when I'm thinking that Rasmus Højlund will not be featuring, at least in the first 60 minutes of the game. So Manchester United's avenues of getting out of this are going to be covered mainly by Arsenal, which means they're going to be penned into that half. Arsenal's attacking pressure will eventually cause this United defence to crumble, and I do believe that Martin Odegaard will play an absolutely pivotal role in picking a pass through into the middle of the pitch, and I can see either a Declan Rice or a Gabriel Jesus really getting on the score sheet. Don't write off Bukayo Saka or Martinelli, even though they have difficult 1v1 duels. Saka could get the best of Dalot, especially with Marcus Rashford not willing to go back and help his fellow fullback. Martinelli could easily drive into the heart of the midfield, and then it's about pace, timing, and how good he is with the ball at his feet, and as we all know, he is fantastic. As I've said, Arsenal, I think, are going to have far too much for this Manchester United setup. However, Manchester United will have the ball at some point, and it should look something like this. Now, here we have Marcus Rashford with a 1v1 duel against Ben White. We have Anthony with a duel against Zinchenko. The switch of play is going to be absolutely crucial, and because Manchester United have two holding central defensive midfielders, it shouldn't be too difficult to be able to transition the ball through. However, the pace of passing has been something that Manchester United have really lacked of late, and that has allowed teams to settle back into a general setup to make sure that they are defensively sound. Diogo Dalot is going to need to make some overlapping runs to allow for some pressure off of Marcus Rashford, who's going to want to drive into the centre of the pitch. But there is one major issue with this Manchester United attack, and that is the lack of pressure in the midfield. Marcus Rashford likes to be out on the left and Anthony likes to be out on the right. He loses the ball far too much, but the main issue is that Bruno Fernandes is going to want to drift out to this right-hand side. He hugs this right-hand side so he can get crosses into the box, but the problem is that Gabriel and Saliba are going to have far too much power and presence for the likes of Anthony Martial. That means that midfield runners are going to be absolutely key to try and drag out Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. Casemiro will feel like he needs to do that, and that in turn will leave Manchester United completely exposed. If you have a look, after I've moved these players, if you have a look at the space that is left in front of the back two, it's just going to be far too much for Lindelof and Martinez to try and deal with. Gabriel Jesus will be making that run, as will Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, and the counter-attack will be Arsenal's. Honestly, I don't see a facet of this game that is not covered by the quality, pace and tactical awareness of Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, and I do think Manchester United are going to be extremely naive, especially when it comes to the counter-attack and if an early goal is scored by the Gunners. For me, it's going to be a 3-1 thumping by Arsenal, and it could even be more. Manchester United do not have the tactical awareness nor the capability on the ball to be able to break down an Arsenal side that are looking to bounce back after a disappointing win against Fulham. It was 3-1 for me. I might even go 4-1. But my question to you is, what do you think is going to happen during this game, and how do you think it's going to play out? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care.